Yes, and so with that, so great. Thank you so much for joining us today. I'm so excited to welcome our speaker, Naika Colas, who's been teaching sustainability in business, and today we'll focus on MWBE. Thanks so much to those who are here and those who are watching later. But without further ado, let me turn it over to Naika. She might introduce herself, but I should say that she is a professor at Parsons. She has a lot of history working with small businesses and working in sustainability and fashion. So Naika, over to you.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone. I hope you all are feeling great. So today is one of my favorite topics, minority business certifications, or minority women-owned business certifications. And I do own one or have a certification that I renew every year. And I am familiar with working with the small business services. Unfortunately, they weren't available to come in or to, log in online with us today. But I've created a deck and a few gems of my own that I've used along the way. So I'll start sharing my deck now. Okay. Okay, sharing. So today's agenda will review what is a MWBE, the New York City process, and then which I'm more familiar with, and then the New York State process. I do have a deck for that. And basically we'll review starting your own business here in New York City as a minority women-owned business and or a women-owned business, and just discuss how the entire process. So from your USPTO, your trademark, looking up your domain name, starting your website. I'll take you through everything that I've done and even going into your business bank accounts. So a minority-owned business is this is a deck from, the City of New York, the MWBE program is opportunity for minority-owned women entrepreneurs to access government grants. So that looks like once you're certified as MWBE, you will receive requests for proposals. And so whether it's like from your health department or your Department of Sanitation as a fashion brand or fashion designer that's able to manufacture pieces, they'll ask you, can you make 1,000 sweatshirts with our logo? Can you make up to 20,000 caps with our logo? And because you do have experience in fashion, you may have access to embroidery services, and you may have access to wholesalers and wholesale accounts. And I do make sweatshirts, so I have access to that, which makes it a little bit easier, but you'll get requests, and then they'll give you a deadline date and you'll send that over. So when eligible businesses are certified with the city, by law, or New York City law, at least 10% of all contracts have to go to a MWBE. So when you think of, I'll give for an example, when I worked for the Department of Sanitation, we had our food czar and we were feeding the residents, the New Yorkers, and if you signed up during the pandemic, you possibly received boxes each week or each day. And those boxes, at least 10% of all of those contracts had to go to a minority women-owned business, which is great because those contracts were about $1 million, they were $5, they were $10 million. And a lot of minority businesses, owned businesses, or even restaurants were able to actually, do well and recoup during the pandemic because or through this MWBE program. So there's a few important benefits of becoming the MWBE. You'll have access to NYC Online Directory Certified Businesses Portal, where different departments will be able to contact you via the portal, and then it'll say what you specialize in. Then you'll also you'll be on a directory, and then the public website which promotes certified businesses. So not just the SBS or the MWBE program will be contacting you, but more so businesses outside of that space. You'll receive so many invitations to go to conferences, and I'll show you my inbox. We'll go through that in a bit. And so other benefits of the certification, it's a lot of networking events. You'll have access to networking events. You'll have access to grants. You'll receive a lot of grant application links via email. And so you'll have access to grants. And there's a few things. If you're seeking the MWBE certification, you must qualify for this. So MWBE, at least 51% of your business has to be owned by a minority or a woman, or someone who identifies as a woman. And so minority would be your Black, it would be Asian, it would be Latino. And so there's a list of different ethnicities, or, what they term as qualifications for the MWBE certification, but at least 51% of your organization or your business has to be owned by MWBE. And the business is legally, the business has to be authorized to transact business in New York State. And it should be located in New York City, but there are a few caveats to that. And then the business has to have been in operation for at least 1 year, selling goods or services. So possibly as a fashion designer, you're selling goods, but then you can sell your services as a consultant. And so that's what services could look like for you.
Good morning. How to apply? Where can you apply?
I'm going to show you. Yep. I'm going to show you everything today, everything that I did. And I've been a minority-owned business since 2017 now. So I'll show you everything that I have. So again, at least 51% of the business is owned, operated, and controlled by a U.S. citizen or a U.S. permanent resident who are women or members of designated groups that are minority groups. So either you're a woman or you're from the minority group that's Black, Hispanic, Asian Pacific, Asian Indian, and Native American. And they'll ask you so many questions on this application so that they can actually confirm or get close to confirming whether you are, so that there is no fraud or anything. I know that there's been a few cases that I've heard of. So the business has to be one of the following. It has to be a sole proprietorship, an LLC, which I have, a corporation, a limited liability partnership, a limited partnership, a general partnership, and then you cannot be a non-for-profit organization. So if you are a non-for-profit organization, you wouldn't be able to receive these grants, or this certification. And so these are usually it's for the MWBE process in New York City, you would have to be part of the 5 boroughs. But if you are part of these specific districts or cities outside of the 5 boroughs, then you are able to apply. So if you're in Nassau, Putnam, Rockland County, Westchester, Suffolk, Bergen, that's in New Jersey, Hudson and Passaic is New Jersey also, you may be able to qualify for MWBE certification. That is a New York City certification. Just that, your business must be located outside of New York State and outside of the designated counties noted above, where I just said may qualify for the MWBE application or certification, as long as you're in around those, the 5 boroughs. So in order for your business to qualify, you would go on the fast track application if you are these 2. So there's a few more. There is if you're in construction, if you have a construction business, those businesses usually receive the most requests for proposals. And you can see why we live in New York City, right? So there's a lot of MWBEs that are, you know, they're contractors or they work in construction and they receive a large bulk of these opportunities. And so you would apply on the Fast Track website, and that's part of the New York City site. And to qualify for the certification, that would be the MWBE. There's also the LBE, which is a locally based business enterprise. If you're a fashion designer, you wouldn't qualify for that. And then there's the New York State Disadvantaged Business Enterprise that you may qualify for outside of the MWBE. And then there's these two programs that you can qualify under. And that's the New York and New Jersey Minority Supplier Development Council. And as a supplier, again, if you're supplying tangible products or physical products like your sweatshirts, or I recently received a request for a proposal from the Department of Health, and it was for a fleece. So fleece is for the workers, for the employees. So when you think of maybe like a health inspector would have a fleece on and they have that, you know, Department of Health, as a fashion designer, you would be creating that. And, you know, those contracts are really big. And, you know, once they request that proposal, you just send them back your proposal by the deadline, and then they will get in contact with you. And then there's also the New York State Department of Economic Development, and you can work through that department so that you can go for your MWBE and also apply through the Fast Track application. And I was able to apply through the Fast Track application also. Your business must have a federal tax ID, and I will show you all how to, about that process. I'll show you what I did basically. And so your tax ID is your employer identification number, it's your EIN, or your social security number for sole proprietor. So if you don't have an LLC and you're a sole proprietor, you would use your social security number. And businesses must be registered, a registered vendor under the pay information portal. And once you are applying for your MWBE certification, you'll also go on the pay information portal and you'll apply for NYC vendor number. That process is it's free. And once you get your vendor number, you can complete your application for your MWBE certification. Businesses are required to register with the passport through this portal here. And I'll show you if this pops up. So this is one of the portal. This is the payee portal. And you would apply, like you would activate this portal here so that they're able to pay you once you do receive a contract with a city agency. So they would pay you through this portal. And then this is the passport portal. You would create a login, you would register here, and you're creating this so that you can apply for your MWBE certification. So they'll ask you for your vendor number once you get your vendor number here. And then they'll also ask you for your passport information. And so that's all. Passport is all for procurement. So this is the city's using this as well so that they can go and you'll have a passport number. They'll go through your login and that's how they contact you. So these two here is how they pay and how they contact. So for your business, to start a business, and we'll go into that space. One, I would say put your business plan here first, because a lot of you may have a business plan. And okay, thank you, Ngozi. So the NYC payment portal allows you to get paid directly into your bank account. And so your business plan, I put the stars here because that's not necessary before you start your LLC. You should have it, but if you do not, I would say have a rough sketch of a business plan, and I'll just show you a business model canvas, and you can download this. I showed you all the first class, but this is like a short version of, it's like a very small version of what a business plan should entail. So your key partners, key structure, cost structure, revenue streams, how you're making your revenue, key activities, what exactly are you doing for a fashion designer? You would be creating pieces, and possibly providing other services here. Value propositions, what value are you providing your consumers? Maybe it's sustainable fashion. Key resources, what do you need in order to operate? So marketing, you'll need possibly different equipment. So maybe you need a space, a studio space that's here. And channels here is also how are you getting your product to your consumer. Customer relationships is also how are you reaching your customer, and the customer segment is your target customer. I would say to use something like this before you apply, to just have this as an outline to a business plan. A business plan is much bigger. It's so many pages, but I would say to use this to start if you do not have one. And then you would go into the space of naming your business, and I'm sure you all may have a name for your brand. And so once you find a name for your brand, you would go on the USPTO site, and this is for trademark, so that you can see if your name is available to trademark. So for me, I have I have a trademark for my brand is Jacques Louis, and I went through that process with a lawyer, but you can either work with a trademark lawyer, or you can go and depending on how much time you have, you can go on yourself and complete the application. So there's so many websites. Once you have an LLC, you'll realize that the websites at the top are not, LegalZoom, they do a lot of work. And I would say, I've heard that a lot of people have used LegalZoom, but there's so many things that you can do yourself if you have the time. So this is the portal here, and you can search trademarks, which you would do for yourself if you're looking to search for your name. So it's a basic word mark search, I would say. So this is dead or alive, live or dead, if it's active, or if it was active and it's no longer active, either because the business is no longer in operation, or because the business missed the trademark renewal process. So one of these should be mine. I'm sure this is mine. Okay, so this is mine here. This is my trademark for my brand. And so we have to renew this year. It's trademarked in Jamaica Queen. So you can find it here. So if you are, let's see, anyone want to give me a name of their brand so we can see if it's on here? That would be something fun. You can just unmute yourself, and then we'll see.
Can you try Friday's Farm? That's not like an official, but just working title.
Friday's Farm?
Yeah.
Correct. Do you see it on the screen?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Saltwater Farm at Friday Harbor. So this is the only one that is up here. Maybe with no apostrophe. Let's see. Oh. Friday Farm. Okay, so it's not trademarked. So if you wanted to name your brand Friday's Farm, you can. And you'll probably see, let's see.
Can you check mine? I actually went through this process with a lawyer through the FIT Fordham University. We actually went through this process, and it showed me. So I'm just going over it again with you, but I just want to check because I'm going to be doing this process next week. 4Cs, FOURCEES. I have my LLC, but I'm in the process of trademarking it now.
This is
CEES.
okay.
I know there was like one company I think that has similar.
Okay, maybe this. No.
But
So you
not-
have to go into the
directly.
process. Yes. Yeah.
Okay, cool. Thank you.
There's this here though. This one is dead. So there is distributed by 4Cs Inc., Union, New Jersey, but this one is a dead trademark. You and I by 4Cs canceled. Okay.
Thank you.
You're welcome. So that's the process. I would go on there, even for me, I put JLC or something. So that process, what does that look like? If you're working with a lawyer, they'll ask you for pictures of the name on tags. So I would say if you are a fashion designer, just to start using that name, just so that you have that. I did do my USPTO. I did that after I already had my LLC, just to be, you know, just so that I had that secure. And then they will ask you for your EIN number. And so it's good to have before you start that process. And so to file for your LLC, you would go on dosny.gov. So you're doing that through the New York State. And so that process, you're going on this website here and you're forming a corporation or a business, and scroll to the bottom here. You'll see, for me, I did a limited liability company. And so there is a friend of mine and ours in GoZ, Whitney McGuire. She does work with fashion brands and does consult when she has time. So if you are looking to work with someone that is actually in that space of law, she may be able to help you. And there's a few others, but I did an LLC. And I thought it was the easiest process for me. And every, let me go in order. It's in my LLC and this is what it looks like. And so this is just your overview of your LLC process. You're filing on this website. You'll sign your articles of organization. And then the process is about, here it says $200. It's probably about $225, up to about $3 something. But for a fashion brand, I believe I paid $225. And you do that entire process online. They'll send you an email once you are, once they've approved your application, but it's usually immediately once you make that payment, you'll receive your articles of organization, and then you'll receive your, all of the information with your, there's going to be a number on there, and then you would apply for your EIN. So to apply for your EIN, that is a free process, but you would need your EIN, you would need your EIN in order for you to actually apply for, let's see, MWBE if you are in operation. So I would apply for an EIN if you can. And then in order to sell items here in New York City or New York State, you will need a certificate of authority. And so a certificate of authority, it looks like an orange card, and it has, it's saying that you have authority to operate and to sell your goods here in New York City or New York State. And it looks similar to this. So you'd apply through the New York State Department of Taxation and Finance. And then you would also apply, you would pay your taxes on this website. So you're applying through this site, and then you would also log in here and you would pay your taxes, your sales taxes. So when you first start as a brand, a fashion brand, they will expect you to do it, I think, maybe quarterly. Yeah, so you would file your sales taxes quarterly, but eventually they may allow you to only file your sales taxes once a year. And so your process, you would find your name, you're getting your, you're paying for your LLC, which is about $200. Then you're applying for your EIN number. That's your employer identification number. And then you're applying for your certificate of authority. And then once you apply for your certificate of authority, you will have all of your articles of organization. And that's the paperwork you'll have. You can also use Form Depot, which I have used a few times, and a lot of people that I've known have used Form Depot. And so if you're applying for anything, even if you need to create a business plan, you can go on Form Depot and they can, they'll have like an outline for you, and they'll ask you questions, and then they'll create a business plan for you. So what I use for QuickBooks is something that I use in order to send invoices. And there's so many things that you can do with QuickBooks. It's about $16 a month for a business, for a small business, depending on the different tiers that you want, you're interested in. And then there is getting your business checking account. I would say to get a business checking account, once you get your LLC and all of that paperwork, what they'll ask you for, in order to open up a business checking account, you'll need, did they ask me? No. So MWBE will ask you for a lease. Your business checking account will ask you for utility bills or bills with the business name on there. They'll ask you for your EIN, your articles of organization. They may ask you for your certificate of authority for sure. And any paperwork that you receive from NYS Department of Corporations, they'll ask you for that. I have Bank of America, but you can go through Chase, Citibank, One United Bank also have that for my business. And through the MWBE, I would say outside of having access to being that 10% to, work with New York City agencies, you will have access to free interns through a partnership that they have with DCYS. So twice a year, I do have access to free interns, and you can get 1, 2, or 3 interns. And then because I work with the new school has a career portal, which I've directed most of my friends to, and or anyone in my network, I've directed them to this website so that you can get interns that are actually in the space of fashion design or design in general. So if you are looking for an intern and you have an LLC, because they'll ask you for that, if you're looking for one or a few, you can always go through the new school career portal. And so I'm going to go into the certification process for New York State now for MWBE. Let's minimize this here. So the MWBE through New York State would be through the Division of Minority and Women Business Development. And so their entire mission, it's similar to New York City, but they service the whole state of New York. And so their mission is to promote equality of economic opportunities to MWBEs and to eliminate barriers to their participation. So their portals look a little different. I did it for work, but I've never done it for myself. And so they're looking to encourage and assist state agencies to award contracts to MWBEs. Their percentage may be a little bit higher than that 10% that New York State does. Okay, I see Janice. Is that how you pronounce your name?
Yes, Janice.
Okay. I see you're looking for an intern. So I'll send you that information, or I'll send it to Ngozi so she can share with everyone. And so again, benefits of getting in New York State MWBE certified is because you'll be a part of a directory with over 8,600 MWBEs. New York City has over 10,000. You'll have access to lending and bonding programs. There's so many different ones that I've seen. There's Newity. I get so many emails from them. And then you'll have access to the procurement and contracting opportunities. So their portal looks a little bit different, and you may receive more proposals through New York State, or if you're doing both and you're interested in that, I would go through New York State if you have the time. So this is the eligibility requirements for the New York State MWBE certification. So you must be in a group of you must be a part of a minority group. And so that is Black persons having origins from any of the Black African racial groups. That is Hispanic persons of Mexican, Puerto Rican, Dominican, Cuban, Central, and South American, Asian Pacific persons. And so that's Far East, Southeast Asia, and Pacific Islands, and then Asian Indian. And then there is your Native American persons having origins or the original people of North America. And so the eligibility requirements, you must have ownership and full control over your organization or your business, at least, I think it may be 51% as well for the New York State. There's a small business restriction. So when you're applying through the New York State portal, they will ask you for your revenue yearly, so that your requirements may be different depending on the size of your business. You must be an independent and active business for at least 1 year, and out-of-state applicants. So they do not accept out-of-state applicants for the New York State MWBE. So this is what the portal looks like. It's similar to, they all look the same, right? But it's similar to the way that New York State's portal looks like. And I guess we can just go on this link here. Oh no. Mouse isn't working. Okay, so this is a portal instead of me just going on there. Here's the portal. You'll get some information on working with New York State, and the MWBE certification process is here. So you'll either certify or recertify with New York State. So if you're just starting, you would certify with New York State. And then you see here, there's New York State bid and grant opportunities if you're interested. There's programs here. There's also free classes that you can do through New York State or through New York City. And so for a new certification, there's two. So if you're recertifying your business, you'd click option one, but option two. Option one here, you would just click this and then you would be sent to this page. Okay, the page is not here. So you'll be sent through this whole process. They'll ask you for the same things. They'll ask you for your EIN. They do ask you for a resume. They'll ask you for a lease of your home if you are operating from your home, if you have a studio in your home, which I did. Your name should be on the lease. It doesn't have to be your business name as long as it's your name. They will ask you for business account information. So I would say to apply for a bank account prior to trying to register for MWBE certification. Either with New York City or state, you still need it. And it's a long process, but it's a long process to complete the application, but to actually get certified, I think I was certified within 2 months. So that process is not long, but to complete the documents, I wouldn't say you should hire anyone for this. And I'll just say that because I know recently, just disclaimer or story, my brother is applying for a retail license in New Jersey for cannabis, and he paid a lawyer about $12,000. And we had already created the application for him. We did the entire thing. He was missing one form, and he paid her. And she just said, let me redo your business plan. Let me redo this for you. And it was just for a certification similar to this, right? And so he paid all of this money. And when he finally just went through and spoke to someone from the program, they said, you should have never paid anyone. So I would not pay anyone to do an MWBE certification for you. So first you'll do is complete a vendor profile, and a vendor profile will have all your information. And I would say just to make sure you're keeping all of your business information current. So especially your address. So if you have, make sure your mailing address is current, because it's kind of hard to get or to retrieve documents that were sent to different addresses. And then the vendor profile is not the same as a certification application. So again, like the New York City MWBE process, your vendor profile and all of those different portals that you will use in order to apply for MWBE certification, it's different. So your vendor profile is more for New York State agencies to go and see your profile, and so that they can contact you to send you a proposal. And so this is the process here. You're submitting a new MWBE certification, and then you're completing, the type is the MWBE, it's for New York State, the different types of vendors, that all of this information is here. They'll give you an application number, and I would say to hold on to that. If you have Google Docs, this would be a great space to have all of your information in folders. Maybe you're taking screenshots or saving it. I would do it in that manner to save. There's different documents that you're going to place into the application for the certification. And these are the mandatory documents. So you'll need proof of citizenship and gender. So I did give them my birth certificate and my US passport. And if you have a green card, I would say to use that as well. Proof of business activity. So current contracts and bids for clients and work in the New York State. So if you don't have current contracts, it's fine. Because I'm thinking to myself, okay, well, I don't have a certification yet, so I probably do not have a contract. Let me see 1 second. Yeah. And then you would do a personal and business tax. So if you've done your personal and business tax, if you've been in operation for at least 1 year, which you have to be or have to have been in operation for 1 year prior to applying for MWBE, you would give them your business tax. So when you're filing your taxes, and I'm just going to put in some personal gems, when you're filing your personal taxes, I file my business taxes together. So because I am, it's just me, internships, I don't really pay them unless I'm doing contracted work and I'm paying pattern makers. I'm working with a production facility. I will have my accountant, he'll do them both. And it's not saying that it has to be one or the other. I do them together. So you'll do either a Schedule C or K, and that's up to your accountant, what he wants you to do. And so for the first 5 years, you can claim a lot of losses. And I'm saying this because when you first start a small business, you're gonna pay for your utility bills, you're paying for, maybe you have a 2-bedroom and you're using 1 bedroom to sew in. Like me, you have a car or have to get a car, you have to go to and from places. So make sure you're keeping all of your receipts. And that is my gem for the business taxes. You'll also need professional background information. So they'll ask you for your resume. They'll ask you if you have any licenses or permits and other certifications that you may have. And if you're a sole proprietor, you would have a certificate from the county clerk's office. And that's when you file your LLC, you may get this. And if you are a partnership or LLC, you would have your Schedule K here, and your 1065 would have your Schedule K there when you're filing your taxes along with. And then for corporations, this is what you would need. But I would say for a brand or a fashion brand, if you're starting out, I would say to go to, I think the LLC route is a good place to start. Yeah. And then, so these are different addendums in the certification process. If you're working with the New York State Port Authority, this is more in the space that we're in, the New York City Department of Small Business Services. You would also, this is an addendum that's added. So this here wouldn't really apply to you unless you're getting certified for something outside of fashion design. Then this is your fast track applications. And again, these are I highlighted a few that pertains to us. So the the New York City Department of Small Business Services. And then there's this here, the Women's Business Enterprise National Council that you may go through, and this here. And this is your fast track application. This is what it looks like for the MWBE for New York State. Then you have your DBE that you may be able to qualify for. So I would say if you're going for your MWBE, to also try and see if you can apply for the Disadvantaged Business Enterprise. And these are just commodity codes. Most of the time when you're applying for these applications or these certifications, they'll ask you for a NAICS code, and the NAICS code is more of just a classification of what type of work you're doing. So usually you'll find it on there. You'll find clothing, and it'll say women's clothing for shoes, accessories, and I'll show you what that looks like. And maybe this is it here. Product codes. Let me see. Does anyone have questions while I'm trying to minimize my screen? Okay. So sometimes they'll ask you for your SIC code too, SIC code. Most of the times it'll be an NAICS code. And I've obviously been on the site because there goes fashion design. So there's all of these codes here. I think mine may be clothing. Okay, so clothing and accessories, wholesalers, retailers, if you're selling online, if you're a cut and sew apparel manufacturer, and you're making clothing, I would say that this is your NICS number, but they will ask you for an NICS number when you're applying, doing these applications. And then submitting your New York State MWBE application, you'll submit it once you have signed everything and all of your documents are complete. And it'll take, I wouldn't say it'll take more than 2 months. Then you'll see your status here. Once you sign into this portal, you'll have access to the New York State MWBE application portal. Then you see your system vendor number. You may be asked this when you're in conversation, if like you ever have to speak to them on the phone. And then you'll see all of your certifications that are processing. So this is the one for New York State. And then extended application submission deadline. They may extend it. You'll see it here on the portal, or you'll get an email if it's extended. And these are common documentation shortfalls. So your personal net worth statement left blank or incomplete. If you leave that blank, you may delay the process. Make sure you're submitting your licenses and certificates, and you're signing all contracts and proof of payment. So if you have employees, make sure that all the contracts are signed and all of the proof of payments, all of those invoices have to be submitted. So make sure those are accurate. Your lease, they're really serious. They're really big with your lease. And so it has to have your name, especially if it has to have the address, the correct address. And suppliers need to provide proof of warehouse location. If you have a warehouse location, I have a home-based business, so it's not as hard, but they are one thing I know when it comes to your lease and when it comes to your taxes, if they're not filled in properly, if you're missing your Schedule K from your tax documents, you will delay the process and they won't recertify you. And so this is just free technical assistance. I'll send the deck to you, Ngozi, so that you have it and you can share. And then there is a Small Business Development Center, SBDC, that's through New York State. But then there's also SBS, which is here in New York City, and that is sbs.gov, and we'll go on their site now. NYC.gov. So you can go on this site. There's so many things you can do through this portal. And you can put the MWBE here. And certify with New York State, New York City. There's another deck here available if you're interested. And there's contract opportunities. So I want to show you in my email what it looks like when someone is trying to send you. So this is my email. This is your recertification, updating your profile. I feel like I just received one from the Department of Health. Okay. Okay, here it goes. So this is a request for a proposal. So they are asking you, they'll say, hi, MWBE certified vendor. You all see my screen, yeah?
Yes.
Okay, sorry. And so it'll say New York City Department of Health, will say the name of the organization and the bureau, which is the Office of School, and they're looking for 500 fleece jackets. They'll tell you it has to be the Eddie Bauer zip. However, this jacket was really expensive and I had a feeling they would not want to pay that. So I did send them an email just to confirm. And then you would just send them a quote. And I usually would do the quotes in an Excel sheet, and I would have your Eddie Bauer full zip, your quantity is $250, size is medium, and then the price. And then, so you're absolutely, when you're doing these proposals, you are, and you're in the space of business, you're not, so if I am paying $50 per fleece times 250, I'm not only charging them that. So just remember that when you're doing your proposals, charge them what you want to, for your services, because, they can do that through a different, they can do that themselves. So just always remember when you're sending out these proposals, you're doing an upcharge. Maybe you want to add 20% or 30% to, so if the bill, you're sending them a quote of maybe 30,000, maybe 5,000 extra. And I'm saying this because time is your time. It's going to take a long time to create this. Like, it's not an easy process. So I would definitely say to keep that in mind when you are working with the MWBE. Sales tax vendor number. Okay, also to get local insurance, I would say to get local insurance for your business, get your business insurance, go through any organization, but there's so many opportunities that you have through the MWBE. So there's so many opportunities that you have. So all of these emails, I cannot read them all, but they will literally come every day where you'll be invited to different seminars on negotiation tactics, different grants, opportunities, webinars, pitches that you can pitch for. And everyone here is familiar with creating a pitch deck, or no? Let me see if there's any in the chat. If you're not familiar with creating a pitch deck, I definitely would get familiar with creating just a 9-slide pitch deck of your brand so that you are able to pitch it when you have access to these webinars. Okay, yep. So usually a 9-slide pitch deck for me, and you can always look it up, but when you look it up, it won't be as detailed. So we'll just go through that now. Slide, here we go. No, that's not it. I wish I had this. I'm just thinking of these things to share before we end. So that's why I don't have them readily available. Okay, this is a good one. So usually first slide is your title cover. That is the least important, I would say. There's something that people can create in Canva. Yeah, you can create one in Canva. And I would say they should just have, so when you're creating a pitch deck, you should always have, most important thing, problem that you're solving. What's the customer's problem? And when you're, and I'm saying this so that you're ready, because you'll get a lot of invitations to webinars where you can pitch your brand, understanding the customer problem and how are you going to solve this problem. So it's not just saying I'm a clothing brand that focuses on using, creating small batch collections. That's not enough for the consumer, right? And I can go through this if you ever need me to come back and go and do this. And then the solution, I've created a lot of pitch decks and unique selling propositions and all of that stuff. Lastly, would always be your financials. How much are you looking for this brand from this organization in order to fund your idea? Your team, traction is always important. So in terms of revenue, are you going to have an increase of how much? So maybe you're starting out with $30,000 a year, and after this grant, you'll push in 100. We're hoping. So that traction sheet would be here. One, because investors want to see, when they want to see their investment and how long will it take for them to get their return on their investment. So, and financial ask is always the last slide. You can definitely find this on Canva. But I would say just to start making one, right? And then there's so many pitch decks that you can find online. For you, I would say if you are Tommy Hilfiger Social Innovation Challenge, they have the brands that they work with, they're not all fashion brands, and they do have their fashion initiative. But those decks, the people who are the winners. I've applied once or twice and I made it to the third round, but I didn't, and that was a few years ago. And I just kind of said, there's so many more innovative things coming out now. And I know I shouldn't think that way, but I would say to look at their decks and their presentations, just so you can see what these organizations that will fund your brand, what are they looking for? And maybe you are a sustainable fashion brand, but what else are you providing? What other types of services are you providing to your consumer? Or maybe they're partnerships, or maybe you're minimizing emissions, or maybe you're working with a nonprofit organization in disadvantaged communities, so many things. And that is like a whole nother 3 hours of me talking your head off. So if you have any questions, I'll stop my share. I know we're almost at time. I'll stop my share now and let me know if you have any questions.
Hi, it's Janice.
Hi, Jenny.
I have a question. So with joining the MWBE program, how have you, do you take on the projects when at a specific time in the year or season when you're kind of like not working on your brand? And then also, you know that you are a teacher, correct? So you have more a lot on your plate. So when do you take on these projects, and how do you know what's the deadline in fulfilling them? And you know, that's my question.
I don't take them on, I'll be honest.
Okay.
So I'll be completely honest. I tried to go for one. And so I'm having a struggle with so I teach the 2 classes at Parsons, but I work full-time as a director of sustainability for a retail merchandising brand. So I had that, and then I had that, and then my clothing brand that I have not really been working on. But if you do have the time, I would say that I've seen the proposals, I've seen it. And I was really close to finishing one for, I think it was the Department of Health, but it was a different bureau within the Department of Health. And I was so close to finishing an application, and I calculated how much my return was, and it was so good. So I would say to absolutely, one, if you have, as a fashion designer, I would say one, to have access to wholesalers, so that because when you do apply for your MWBE, that's what they're really asking for. They're not really asking you for, and I don't see, as a small business, I don't see anyone creating 10,000 units of this from your home, right? So I can't see anyone sewing that within that time frame. So I would definitely say to go on different websites. Like there's one called SSC Apparel, or maybe no, it's SNS Activewear, and I'll put that in the chat. That's for wholesale. So if you are, and I use that for wholesale and sweatshirts and all of that. I'm not saying that you are a sweatshirt designer, right? But I'm just saying that I definitely think that you should, if this is all you're doing as a fashion designer and you want to get these contracts, I would definitely have access to this SSC Apparel. They'll ask you for your LLC also.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay. Okay, any other questions?
Hello, Sandy speaking.
Hi.
So I don't have a question, but I really want to thank you for your time and providing this information. As a aspiring small business owner, it gives me a sense of relief from all the information that you're sharing. Yes.
Yeah, you're welcome. And I want to just share, before this, I taught myself to sew, and I was not a fashion, I didn't come from a fashion design background. And, as a child, I would try and sew and sketch, but I had to teach myself to sew. And so what that looked like was me in my mother's living room, sewing on a table, creating pieces for friends, until people started to say, oh my gosh, you're so good, I'm going to pay for your pieces. So that's what that process looked like. And then that's when I got my LLC. Once I said, I have a piece where I like used a marker and I wrote the name of my brand on a piece of paper and I sewed it into a dress. And that was the start of my brand. So like, when you think that you can obtain it, you really can. And now I am in a space where, you know, I've gotten grants, and there is iFund Women. I would say definitely, I'll put it in the chat. If you're looking for grants to go on iFund Women, I received a grant from them a few years ago. And they have free classes. You can sign up for that. And if I find any grants, I'll send them to you, Ngozi, and you can share with them. Yep, I'll send you my email here.
This is so great. Naika, thank you so much for sharing this great information with us today and for sharing your contact information and these great resources. We will follow up. We'll follow up with folks and get these links out to you. And have a great Saturday. This has been a really great start to the weekend. Actually, our weekend started last night with a graduation. Sandy, yes, Friday, and Iris, who just left, and then Delia, who was their excellent instructor. And like I said, Janice was a judge, Christina was a retailer, Regina was a great audience member and brought more people. So I'm so glad that we could continue community today. And thank you everyone for being here.
Thank you. Have a great day, everyone.
Thank you so
Okay,
much.
see you.
Have a good weekend.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.